So, April, let's talk about the ground game. You have Sheila Jackson Lee on with me just a few minutes ago. She believes that Hillary Clinton can win Ohio. She is, despite the polls show Clinton, behind 2 points in North Carolina, they believe that they've got the ground game in place. What do you see as the big headline, particularly from North Carolina right now? Is it the black vote?
North Carolina is not just only the black vote, but it's also this new wave of those who are coming into North Carolina, Tamron. It's those who come from the north to find jobs down there. And in many of the progressive cities, it's a college state. You've got people who are more progressive in thinking. It's not the old North Carolina that it used to be thought of. It is more progressive in thinking and the types of people that come there. So it's not just about African Americans and the Latino community that's very much in that state. And you have to remember, when it comes to the Latino community, they are focusing in on the issues. Number one, immigration, and then the fight for 15. So they're in mass, and then African Americans have big issues as well.
Well, and that's the thing, Roland, you watch all of the commentary, even the numbers. There is a clear headline that there's a surge with Latino voters, but there's a back and forth over where the black vote stands. Right now, the Institute of Southern Studies says in the last 2 days of early voting alone, over 122,000 African American voters cast their ballots in North Carolina. That is a better number than we were seeing at first, when there was a decline of 25% from 2012. Now it's about 9% lower than what we saw in 2012.
Well, first of all, we cannot talk about black turnout and ignore voter suppression. North Carolina GOP specifically, with laser-like focus, according to the federal courts, were targeting black voters. And so you saw that. You saw where in the first week of early voting in North Carolina, they only had one early voting location in the major counties. I was in Ohio this weekend. Same thing. Only one early voting location in all of Cuyahoga County, where Cleveland is, in all of Summit. Yesterday, 4,000 people were waiting in line, according to media reports, in Cincinnati around 2 p.m. That's because of the same thing. And so you're seeing that. And so black voters are angry by the voter suppression. So the turning out was sold to the polls. But there are some things that are critically important, Tamron, that we have to understand. The NNPA and Howard University did a particular poll that showed 86% of black women, Democrats, a Republican told me point blank in RNC, black women hates them more than anybody else. But 20% of black men in their poll identified as independents. Also, the African American Research Collaborative dropped their poll. We did it today on the show as well. Here's an issue: enthusiasm. Only 20% of blacks say they were enthusiastic about voting, compared to 54% in 2012. But here's the key: 54% of black people are saying it is most important to vote this year. Only 8% said that in 2012. So once you start going inside of these numbers, you're seeing that there's an issue here. Hillary Clinton has an intensity problem. They've had one for quite some time, especially among millennials. The Joint Center report, same thing. Millennials, 18 to 34, who are African American, had the highest percentage who said they were not going to vote, who also were not enthusiastic. But young millennials are saying they're voting against Trump more so than for Clinton.
Let me play what Rudy Giuliani, April, said last night in Las Vegas. Peter Alexander is reporting that part of Trump's closing argument is to the Latino communities that, as you know, largely against him at this point, huge numbers, and to the black community. Let me play what Rudy Giuliani said.
This message, as given by Donald Trump, is for everyone. He talks about African Americans and what he wants to do for the African American community and Hispanic community. If you look at the battleground states, he is either ahead in every one or within the margin of error.
So, April, this last closing argument, 31 hours out, to the black community, your thoughts?
Donald Trump has showed us, the nation and the world, who he is to African Americans. I mean, when he deals with issues, I mean, he has debates in places like Charleston, South Carolina. He doesn't bring up the issue of the shooter. And he goes to Flint, Michigan. He goes there. He goes for debate, but then he comes back later on and deals with Flint. It's an issue of either or when it comes to policing. Do I support the police or do I support the people who are affected? He supports the police, whereas you have on the other side, on the Democratic side, it is working with both, supporting strong policing and weeding out the bad policing. Donald Trump even has one of his major African American surrogates out of Florida, Sean Jackson, who is who is said to have been the one who pulled a lot of the numbers. At one point, the African-American vote in Florida for Donald Trump was 9%. Sean Jackson has now defected from Donald Trump, saying that he is not going to do anything for African-Americans. Yeah. So I think Donald Trump is going to have a hard time with the black vote.
But Tamron, there is an issue here, and that is here. I gave you that number, black men, 20% independent in that poll. Here's the issue. Immigration is a powerful and potent issue among African Americans. I can go back 10 years hosting my radio show in Chicago. When it came up, black folks were calling in. They were actually against the issue of immigration reform. He understands that. Look, he's not appealing to black voters. He's also trying to appeal to white voters, saying, oh, I'm not a racist. But do understand the biggest concern of whether or not you're going to have a significant percentage of black people, not large, but say, I like that what I'm hearing about immigration. Forget Latinos. They're voting against him. That's what he's banking on. That small sliver that could put him over the top.
There was just a conversation I had yesterday with a young African-American voter, male from Chicago, who brought up the documentary 13th and talked about the disproportionate number of black men who were sent to prison during Bill Clinton's years. And this voter actually said, I could not bring myself to vote for Donald Trump, but I still, after seeing that documentary, have bad feelings about the Clintons.
Criminal justice is big. Criminal justice is a big issue.
Right, and she has been trying to deal with that issue because trying to confront it. She picked up some critical endorsements of Brittany Packnett, DeRay McKesson, two of the more prominent Black Lives Matter activists. But right now, this is pure intensity. This is ground game, and you got some black mothers and fathers telling their kids, you better go vote for Hillary Clinton. It's a whole lot of that happening in black households.
All right, April, thank you, Roland. It's always a pleasure to have you both on. So insightful. Thank you.